Welcome to this Up and Running with NodeRED video series. My name is John Jardine from Agilit-e, and today I'm going to show you how to set up NodeRED on your local machine. In this demonstration I'll be using a Windows 8 operating system, but this installation procedure, whether you're using Windows, Linux or Mac OS X, is almost identical, and I will highlight the slight differences. So let's get started. On this page I've listed the steps that we will need to follow in order to get NodeRED running on our local environment. The first is to download Node.js and npm, and you do this by going to nodejs.org. Now, according to the NodeRED documentation, they do recommend that we install Node.js version 6. However, I have run NodeRED on later versions of Node.js and haven't seen any issues. Once we've got Node.js and npm installed, everything else happens via command prompt or terminal. Now, another note that they have in the NodeRED documentation is that if you're using a command prompt for Windows, you have to open up that command prompt as administrator. And if you're using terminal for Linux or for Mac, these commands will have to be prefixed with sudo so that they run as with admin privileges on those operating systems. And that's really the only difference between installing it on Windows versus installing it on a Unix OS. So just to show you quickly, if you go to nodejs.org and you click on the downloads link on top here, you'll see that the latest version is 8.9.1, which is slightly higher than what NodeRED recommends. But again, I haven't had any issues running the latest version of Node.js. However, if you do want to play it safe and install a version 6 of Node.js, you can go down here to previous releases and click on the Node.js 6x, and you'll see a whole bunch of installs over here that you can then use for your environment. So here I have a Windows 8 operating system running as a virtual machine, and I already have Node.js installed on my environment, so I'm not going to be taking you through that procedure because it's very simple. You just download the install files, start it up, click next, and follow all the defaults. It's really that easy to get Node.js installed. And again, Node.js and npm are installed together as one. So I'm going to click on the start menu here, and I'm going to go to the command prompt, and I'm going to right click and run this as administrator. So once I'm inside here, just to prove that I do have Node installed, I'll just click Node or enter Node-V. It provides the version, and you can see I'm running version 6.10. Now, one of the requirements according to the NodeRED documentation is to install a Node module called NodeGYP, and we need to install it as a global module. Because it will be a module that gets used pretty much across the board for any of your Node projects and not for a specific project. So we do that by saying npm install and -g is global, and we go node gyp. So if you're running this on if you're trying to do this on a Unix operating system, you'll have to prefix this with sudo. Okay, but we're on Windows now, so we don't need to do that. And we hit enter. This will install the NodeGYP module globally on the operating system. While we're waiting for this to install, again, the NodeRED documentation, this is not a compulsory requirement to have this module installed, but apparently having this installed eliminates a lot of warnings and unnecessary errors and stuff that happen during the NodeRED install process. But according to the documentation, it's not the end of the world if you don't have this module installed. I just like to play it as clean as possible and follow what they say in the docs. Alright, so now that we've got that installed, our last step is to install NodeRED itself, and we're also going to install NodeRED as a global module on our operating system and not specific to a certain project. And we're going to do that by going npm install global. There's another parameter they have in the docs, and you can see over here, if I go to the docs, you'll see what I mean. There's another parameter called unsafe perm. I'm not too sure what this is, and I'm sure they do explain it here somewhere inside the documentation, but I'm just going to follow what they say and add that. Usually you don't need to add that when you install modules, but in this case they recommend you do it. So we add that parameter, and then finally the Node module itself, which is called NodeRED. So this will take a little while to install depending on your internet speed, because it is quite a big package that gets downloaded. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video here and just wait for this to finish. And we're back. So this took about, I would say about just over 2 minutes to download and install on my side. I did see a couple of warnings. Most of them were deprecation warnings, which are not too serious. But other than that, everything else installed just fine. So if everything did install successfully, it should be as easy as just typing in node-red, hitting enter, and that should start up our runtime. So according to all of this, we're good to go. It says server now running at this IP address and port, so we can go and open up a browser, and let's go and type 127.0.0.1:1880, hit enter, and there's our NodeRED environment running. It even kept a flow from a previous test that I did a little while ago. Well, that's great, because we can then just go to the debug bar and see if this runs. I am working. So it's as easy as that. Whenever you want to get your NodeRED environment running, all you do is you open up command prompt as administrator, and inside the command prompt you just go and type node-red, and your environment will start up and you can access everything through the browser. So if you've been following my video series up until now, not only do you know how to set up NodeRED on your local environment, but you'll also know how to set it up on the IBM cloud. We've reached the point in the video series where we are now going to actually start working with NodeRED. This includes how to navigate the interface, what the nodes are and how they talk to each other, how to create your own flows as well as subflows, and much more. So that's a wrap for this video. If you want more information regarding NodeRED, you can visit their website at nodered.org or follow them on Twitter, and finally join their Slack channel. For more information on Agility, you can visit our website at agility.io, or you can also reach us on our Twitter accounts, and of course my blog bleedingcode.com. And with all that being said, I thank you very much for your time.